right, welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us today for this Skuid App-etizer. My name is Matt Brown. I'm a product manager here at Skuid, and I'm really excited to get into this today. We're joined by Huyen York, our Skuid marketing engineer, product marketing engineer, sorry. And we're going to be talking about page layouts today, specifically record types. If this is your first Skuid App-etizer, these are short webinars that we do where we look at kind of specific problems that people are trying to solve in Salesforce and ways that they can do that with Skuid to get your imaginations going, to think about some of the ways that you can go get in there and do some pretty cool things. So we've done, this is number 6. We've done 5 of these before. I get to come in every time, and I'm just going to make it a thing. I love that music at the beginning. I just get bopping over here, and you know, everything's casual now, so it's cool. But no, it's always great to do these. The previous 6 are on our YouTube channel. We talk about things like Salesforce dynamic forms, ways that you can extend Skuid with those, the design system studio, a lot of great topics on there. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. I will also be looking at the chat. So if you have questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer those as we go. We are recording this. We'll put it up afterwards. So today we're going to talk about page layouts. We're going to talk about record types. What are you going to be showing us today?
Hey Matt, thanks for the great introduction. I've been here once before talking about Design System Studio, my favorite topic. But today we're going to talk about record types. And what I want to talk about record types is I just want to show you guys some controls that Skuid has to control the fields that you want to show on a form or on your page that you might want to show to one record types and not the other record types. And Matt will help me explain some of these concepts a little bit more, but record types in the Salesforce world, it means provides controls for the processes, page layouts, and pick list values for your different types of users. In Skuid, we handle record types just like any other lookup fields. So we let you decide the control. So Matt will show you a page where we would show all records for all records regardless of record types and all the cool stuff. But
Awesome.
I will show you how you can have a form. So I do have a list detail page here where I have a list page. I have a different list of different accounts. And this is standard objects, right? This is accounts, contacts, opportunities. And for standard objects, I believe that Salesforce hasn't provided the control for the record types.
Yeah, let me speak to that really quick. So yeah, Salesforce has dynamic forms, which is really cool. It's a huge time saver for admins and devs. It lets you drag individual fields onto your Lightning page. So they're moving away from the page layout editor, which is great. You don't have to manage it in a bunch of different places. But right now it's only available for custom objects. So I know it's on their roadmap to do standard objects, but if you need to do some of that conditional visibility for fields on standard objects, right now you're out of luck with Salesforce out of the box. So Skuid's going to be helpful with that. But let's take a second though and talk about the rest of this page because we're doing a lot more than just that. You've got essentially this interactable list on the left using the Skuid list component. You've got a number of contextual KPIs there to get to your detail page. So there's a lot of different things going on that add up to a great user experience for the end user. And so what you have here actually, it looks like you can go from different account to different account, and you've got different record types in that list as well. And so things are going to update as you go. So when you click on that, you've got actions that are driving, and you might go from one record type to another. And it sounds like you've got some customizations to the page based on the type of record that you're viewing. So what happens with the record types there?
Yeah, so I have a form here, and I have the account name, so Knowledge Corp, and I have a field called parent account ID. And the record type here is corporation. So I'll just show you real quick the different record types that we have: a corporation, school, special accounts. You might have different record types than this. And I said that doesn't make sense for me to have parent account field on for this record types. So if it's corporation, I'd say that's I should allow it. But if it's a school record type, I would say this form should not show parent account. So I want to hide it for the users. And I don't want to build different page. So you can do something like that with page layout. You have different page layouts, but what if I want my users to have the same page, but depending on the record types, they see parent account ID field or not. So I can do that in the page with the display logic. So this is the Skuid page composer right here. And so I have the account name and the parent account ID, and I can add this conditions in here where if the record type is school, the users should not see the parent account field. So I'm just gonna go ahead and save that.
Because what's great about this is you're able to get to the record type.name field, not record type ID, which anyone who's been an admin or a dev in Salesforce knows that when you go from one sandbox to another sandbox or to prod, your IDs are going to change. And so hard coding that ID is no fun because then you have to go update it in all the other environments. So it's great to be able to get to the name. It's going to be school in every single environment. I don't have to change that whenever I go to the next sandbox or I go to production. The other cool thing about fields here is you've got, in your display logic, you've got your render conditions, you've got enable conditions, so you can choose to enable fields based on certain criteria. And then one thing that's coming in this upcoming release, Skuid Boston, this is about to go GA here in the next week or two, is the ability to apply different styles from the Design System Studio based on certain conditions. So conditional formatting, conditional styling, highlighting fields based on certain things. So if you want to color code your record types, that kind of stuff, you can do that now, or at least in this upcoming release. So a lot of cool things with display logic. Okay, so you put a render condition on there that's referencing another field here. And that's going to hide, based on the record that we look. Cool. So what does it look like?
Yeah. So because my record type is corporation, I should not see the parent account ID because I've conditionally rendered it to only show if it's a school record type. So the same page, depending on the user's record type, they will see the parent account ID field or not. So the results here is we should not see the parent account ID field, and so that's not here anymore. But if I change the record type to school, and I'll see it. So yeah, so that's a pretty just quick, simple example of how you can really quickly show and hide your fields and have like a clean form for your users, take away all the confusions. Yep. And just make your life easier by maintaining this one page, making your users' life easier by not having fields that they should not be filling out. So that's it.
Excellent. Thanks, Huyen. Well, I had one other thing that I wanted to show today. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, how's that? Is it coming through?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so this is an account list page that I've created with Skuid, and wanted to address one challenge that I know admins and devs have faced for a while. Really highly requested feature, the ability to edit records in line of multiple record types in a single list view. So we're using the Skuid table here. You can see we're bringing in all of our record types. We've got some Skuid multi-select filters up here. And I've got default. I can change this here. So I can do my inline editing. I can change these record types. Now I do want to call it out. We treat record type just like any other field. So like we said, like Huyen said earlier, record type, it's just a lookup field to us. It looks up to the record type object, which gives us a lot of control. So you can see here we've got it actually rendered as a pick list, the dropdown. The way that Wen had it was autocomplete with that pop-up, so more like a reference field. So you can choose how you want reference fields to display. And with record type, we just think of it as another field, and we have all those options. But in Salesforce, you can use record types for a lot of different things, to define page layouts, to define processes. So we recognize that there's a lot of different follow-on effects of needing to do that. One of those is dependent pick lists. So if we're going to do inline editing with multiple record types here, then I need to know that I am getting the correct pick list values for that. So that's being enforced here. So you can see default gives me these. Booking only has this one for now. We need to go do some management there. But if I don't have anything, I actually get access to all of these. So all of that logic gets defined there. And then we can use that logic to define some other things. So over here, we've got some different buttons that show up in line. So we use those conditional rendering options that Wen was showing earlier to apply some logic. And you see we have the default workflow for our default record types, but then booking gets a different one. And if you don't have anything selected, nothing shows up. Now, when you told me to use a design system that was a little bit more compact, just because it looks so good, I want to show the process of changing that, because I want my buttons to look a little more buttony. So we've talked about the Design System Studio. If I wanted to go change the look and feel for this, we got a ton of these here in our demo org. I'm going to go and change this back to material design. If we want to use material design, we can go ahead and apply that and change, and it'll look a bit different now. And now those buttons will be a little more button-esque. There we go. Okay, so this isn't quite as compact, but maybe it is very specific to our use case. But anyways, I just want to show that off. I love the Design System Studio. It lets us do some pretty cool things. So, all right. So yeah, let's get a quick recap. Annie, you want to pull those slides up one more time? I'll stop sharing my screen.
And Matt, I just want to point out that on your in the table there, all the records shows up for all record types.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're not limiting to any record types. So all of the records actually are all record types.
Yep, absolutely. So again, you can control whether or not you want to only show one. So Skuid has something called models. It's how we connect to data. We can go get data from as many different objects as we need, related or unrelated, and pull it into a single Skuid page. And we have a ton of controls over how that data gets brought in, called conditions on those models. So you could apply a condition that says only bring in record types of this type or that type, or just show me everything and then let the user filter. So you have all kinds of control. So quick recap. We just treat record types like any other reference field. And so you can go connect to that, pull those into Skuid forms and tables. Then you can use logic to determine the layout of your page. What fields, what buttons, what sections show, what actions are available from that record type. So Wen showed us that in that kind of console experience there with the list and the detail. We had it in our list page with those buttons. We can do inline editing of multiple record types in a single list view. And then, yeah, the pick list values, your dependent pick list values, those are automatically going to come through. And the reason that works is we just sit on top of your data model and your process automation in Salesforce. This is one of the benefits of working within the Salesforce ecosystem, is there's so much power for us to take advantage of. With Salesforce's powerful data modeling capabilities, being able to set up things like dependent pick lists. I cut my teeth on Salesforce as my first relational database, and I love it. The ability to go set up those dependencies and stuff like that. So if you've got a solid backend with great relationships, you've defined them well, and you just put Skuid on top of that, you're really going to be able to unleash that power with the Skuid page. So trying to keep things short, It is an appetizer. So that's all we have to show today. We wanted to focus on record types, being able to do a lot of things with those in a couple of different contexts, but I want to open it up. Are there any questions about what we've shown, anything that we can go back to, elaborate on? Please let us know there in the chat. We'll take a few minutes here. All right, great question. How do you recommend to use formulas at the field level? Can you add formulas on fields to display calculated values? And do you recommend creating formulas in Skuid or have it in Salesforce? Great question. Why don't you speak to it and I can jump in too?
Yeah, so I love formulas on field level and squid building. That's one of your favorite things that you will do is creating formula fields or using a formula to populate your field. So I think Matt has a page going, but we use formulas all the time. So have a lot of different functions. Um, you can do branching, you can do if else. So there's a lot of logics, and you can do date time. So there's a lot of we utilize formula a ton to make things easier, to validate, to auto populate, um, to display control, like a lot of things. So I recommend using formula fields, especially if you're comfortable with logics. And the formula functions a lot are similar to the Salesforce formulas functions, right, Matt?
Yep. Yeah, more or less. There might be one or two differences, but yeah, it's going to be pretty similar. Um, yeah, and this actually in this next release, our formula builder is getting an update. It's going to be even better. There's autocomplete. It's baked in. It just makes it a lot easier if you're getting in there. Yeah, let me speak to a few things there. So there was a question about best practices. So Skuid has this idea of UI only formula fields. So you can create a model or a field in your Skuid page that only exists at the page level, at the UI level. And so what that means is that it doesn't go against your formula field limits in Salesforce. So I know that that's something, if you have a ton of needs for those kinds of things, if you just want to do some calculated values or some kind of formula and it's just for display, you're not using it in any kind of integration or anything like that, the Skuid formula field is a great option for that. I've also seen folks use formula fields to get parent objects or child objects in line. The cool thing about Skuid is that with our models, you can actually navigate up or down to get related information in line without having to do a formula field. So you can actually eliminate some of those formula fields that you might have in Salesforce because you just want to display some related information in line. Places where Salesforce is going to be good, where you want to leverage a lot of that server processing power to do those kinds of calculations. So if this is just a really, really complicated calculation that's just doing a ton of work, then create a formula field and then we can pull it in. But a lot of the time, if it's just for display, if it's in a record context or just with the stuff that I'm working on, then Skuid UI-only formula fields are going to be really, really helpful. Hope that's helpful. Let's see here. And then do it this way. How do you control UI versus Salesforce level logic? Another good question. So if you have something that is more about the UI experience, that's where you want to build that conditionality into Skuid. If it's related to security or data like compliance, data integrity, then use Salesforce's tools to enforce that. Required fields, validation rules, that kinds of thing, those kinds of things. So we can do some other things that are additive at the Skuid level. So you can make a field required in Skuid, even if it's not required in Salesforce. And so that can be helpful if you want to build a scenario where it's specifically required here, more for kind of user interface reasons as opposed to data quality reasons. But that's additive. And again, we always recommend that you use the Salesforce tools if it's a security concern or a data quality concern. But a lot of controls at both. And it's just that kind of question of, back end things should be back end things, front end things should be front end things. And Squid really lets you do that too. That's the other thing, is that sometimes I've seen clients and customers in past years, they might make data model decisions based on how they want things to display. And we really don't want you to do that. Build your data model, build your process automation to spec the way it should be, and know that with Squid, you'll be able to deliver the experience that your users want. So good question. And then recommendation on using JavaScript to manipulate UI components. So we really try to make that not needed as much as possible. This upcoming release is going to give you some more options in Squid if you have to do that. So specifically right now, you can add JavaScript to a Squid page. We let you do it in a couple of different ways, but it's really going to be focused more on things like data operations and logic, and not so much UI visual behavior on the page. One of the things that's coming in Squid Boston, this next release, it's going to be going GA in the next week or two here, is the ability to do those custom field renderers. So you can add a JavaScript snippet here and then reference it as a field renderer here that gives you an entry point for code. And there's a couple other places where you can add HTML and then you can add CSS to design systems. But we really try to make everything as available as possible declaratively. And then there are a few extension points for JavaScript. Yes, absolutely. It is super flexible, but we really want to try and reduce code debt, reduce technical debt. So definitely good to be thinking along those lines. We really try to go declarative first. If you have further questions on that, happy to get into that. The community is a good place to go too, community.squid.com, if you want to see some of the ways that people are using code.
Yeah. And I'm gonna shamelessly like plug in the webinar that we did on the Design System Studio, because with the Design System Studio, you can create a scalable design system. And even though we say you can extend it, I have a hard time finding things I have to extend, because it is that comprehensive in what you can control. So yeah, I think there's a lot the UI is pretty comprehensive in building a complex design system that you can like maintain and scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Wen's kind of a design system superstar around here and has made some really beautiful ones. So yeah, that's a good point there in the chat. So in previous versions of Squid, in older versions, there was a possibility of adding CSS. And yeah, we did not add that into the new Design System Studio, which came out a few years ago. And part of the reason is because code is brittle. When you extend with code, CSS, JavaScript, HTML, you can get there, you can deliver, it's great, but it's always a higher risk of breaking with a Squid update or a Salesforce update. So there are times when you just have to do it, but we want you to be able to do it in a responsible way. So the way the Design System Studio works is that you can create component variants, and this upcoming release will allow you to extend those variants with some code to add CSS there. So, but we want you to go declarative first. Yes, and we want this to be a powerful tool that lets you deliver something that isn't brittle, that's scalable. So, all right. Yes, great questions. Absolutely. Thank you so much, folks, for joining. If you have other questions about Squid, again, I highly recommend going to community.squid.com. You can post them there. You can go install a free trial of Squid from our website as well. If you want to go get started in a dev org or a sandbox, see what you can do. We'd love to help you get started. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Huyen. This was lovely. Love that console page. Great to see it. And we'll be doing another one of these soon. I know it's on the calendar. When is the next one, Annie? Or when? Is there a date for the next one yet? 2 weeks
Maybe
from now.
2 weeks.
Got it. I should probably know these things. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us. Really appreciate it. Y'all take care and have a good day.